Monsieur Verdoux is a 1947 black comedy film directed by and starring Charles Chaplin, who plays a bigamist wife killer inspired by serial killer Henri Desiré Landru. The supporting cast includes Martha Raye, William Frawley, and Marilyn Nash. Plot: Henri Verdoux had been a bank teller for 30 years before being laid off. To support his wife and child, he turns to the business of marrying and murdering wealthy widows. The Cuvée family becomes suspicious when Thelma Cuvée draws all her money and disappears. Only 2 weeks after marrying a man named Varney, whom they only know through a photograph. As Verdoux, Chaplin prepares to sell the residence of the murdered Thelma, widowed Marie Grosnay visits the residence. Verdoux sees her as another business opportunity and attempts to charm her, but she refuses. In the following weeks, Verdoux has a flower girl repeatedly send Grosnay flowers, in need of money to invest. Verdoux, as M. Flore, visits widow Lydia Flore Hoffman, who complains that his engineering job has kept him away too long. That night, Verdoux murders her for her money. Verdoux develops a poison untraceable by autopsy to use as a better means to kill. He meets the girl, Nash, on a rainy night on the street, takes her in, and gives her poisoned wine along with eggs and toast. She thanks him for his kindness, remarks about love, her dead husband, who served in the war, and how she still believes in love. Verdoux changes his mind as she is about to sip the wine, and he spares the girl. She leaves unknowing of his cynical intentions. Verdoux makes several attempts to murder Annabella Bonnier, including by strangulation while boating, and by poisoned wine, but she manages to escape unknowingly while putting Verdoux himself in danger or near death. Grosnay eventually relents to the continual flowers from Verdoux and invites him to her residence. Verdoux convinces her to marry him, and Grosnay's friends hold a large public wedding to Verdoux's disapproval. Unexpectedly, Bonnier shows up to the wedding. Panicking, Verdoux fakes a cramp to avoid being seen and eventually deserts the wedding. Before the Second World War breaks out, the European markets collapse, and Verdoux loses his assets. The girl, now well-dressed and chic, once again finds Verdoux on the street. She invites him to an elegant dinner at a high-end restaurant as a gesture of gratitude for his actions earlier. The girl has married a man she doesn't love to be well off. Verdoux reveals that he has lost his family. At the restaurant, members of the Cuvée family recognize Verdoux and attempt a pursuit. Verdoux is able to bid the girl farewell before being captured by investigators. Verdoux is exposed and convicted of murder. Before being led to the guillotine, he dismisses his killing of a few, for which he has been condemned, as no worse than the killing of many in war, for which others are honored. Cast: Martha Raye as Annabella Bonnier, who believes Verdoux to be Bonnier, a sea captain who is frequently away. Isabelle Elsom as Marie Grosnay, an aged widow who is interested in purchasing Thelma's residence, who Verdoux, as Varney, attempts to court. Margaret Hoffman as Lydia Flore, who believes Verdoux to be Flore, an engineer who had been away from home for months. Marilyn Nash as the girl, a young woman who Verdoux meets and attempts to poison before her views on society change his mind. Production: Welles' side of the story. The initial idea for the film came when Orson Welles, developing a film of his own, was inspired to cast Chaplin as a character based on Landru, but Chaplin backed out at the last minute, not wanting to act for another director. According to Welles, Chaplin bought the script from Welles and rewrote several major sections, including the ending and what Welles said was the funniest sequence in Verdoux. The only specific scene to which Welles lays credit is the opening. He also acknowledges that Chaplin claims to have no memory of receiving a script from Welles, and that he believes Chaplin is telling the truth when he says this. Wells believed that a version directed by him would have been better, as he considered Chaplin a genius as an actor, but merely competent as a director. However, Wells urgently needed money, and so signed away all rights to the script. Chaplin sighed. Orson Welles came to Chaplin's house, explaining he thought of doing a series of documentaries, one to be on the celebrated French murderer, Bluebeard Landru, which he thought would be a wonderful dramatic part for Chaplin. Chaplin was interested as he said it would be a change from comedy and writing movies himself. But once Wells explained that the script had yet to be written and he wanted Chaplin to help in writing it, Chaplin backed out. A day or so later, the idea struck him that the idea of Landru would make a wonderful comedy. Chaplin then telephoned Wells saying, "Look, your proposed documentary about Landru has given me an idea for a comedy. It has nothing to do with Landru. But to clear everything, I am willing to pay you $5,000. Only because your proposition made me think of it." Quote, after negotiations, Wells accepted on the terms that he could have screen credit. To read, idea suggested by Orson Welles. Chaplin stated that if he had known what Wells would eventually try to make out of it, he would have insisted on no screen credit at all. Reception. This was the first feature film in which Chaplin's character bore no resemblance to his famous tramp character. The Great Dictator did not feature the tramp, but his Jewish barber bore sufficient similarity, and consequently was poorly received in America when it first premiered. However, it was more successful in Europe. The film and its dark themes were ill-suited to the American political and cultural climate of the time, less than 2 years after World War II ended. Moreover, Chaplin's own popularity and public image had been irrevocably damaged by multiple scandals and political controversies prior to its release. Chaplin was subjected to unusually hostile treatment by the press while promoting the opening of the film, and some boycotts took place during its short run. At one press conference to promote the film, Chaplin made his speech, then invited questions from the press with the words, "Proceed with the butchering." On the other hand, Evelyn Waugh wrote in passionate praise of the movie. Despite his loathing of Chaplin's left-wing politics, despite its poor critical and commercial performance, the film was nominated for the 1947 Academy Award for Best Writing, Original Screenplay. In the decades since its release, Monsieur Verdoux has become more highly regarded.